my mom died unexpectedly, and it was just the shock of that, the shock, the sadness, that emptiness, confusion feeling. And I was really overwhelmed of, now what? How will I live? And then, luckily I got my answer the night before the funeral. I had an incredible experience with my mom. Really, it was just this full body understanding of that often the things we think matter don't, and all that matters are the moments. And that life is a series of moments, and we get to choose how to live them.
Welcome to the Awaken Magazine podcast, where we feature inspiring leaders who are helping our world awaken to love. I'm your host, David Trotter, and today I want to share with you a heartwarming conversation with Elizabeth Sevo. She's the author of Choose Your Moments: How the Sudden Loss of My Mother Taught Me How to Live, Inspiration for Everyday Life. In this conversation, we talk about how the passing of her mom challenged her, invited her to see that life is made up of moments and that every moment matters. We also talk about how she navigated the major transition of shifting from an agent to professional ice skaters to following her dream of living in Spain, which she's done for quite some time now. And then we also hear how she's taking this message of choose your moments to corporations around the globe. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the Awaken Magazine podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Click subscribe, rate and review the show. That's an easy way to help us spread the word to more people who would be able to enjoy these incredible interviews that we provide each and every week. All right, let's dive into this conversation with Elizabeth Sevo. Well, Elizabeth, it's so great to be with you today. Thanks for taking some time to hang with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I purchased your book. It's called Choose Your Moments: How the Sudden Loss of My Mother Taught Me How to Live. So I just would love to hear about your mom. Every mom is so special. I just got off the phone with my mom. She just turned 76 a couple days ago. So I talk to her a couple times a week. So I love my mom dearly. I want to hear about your mom and what she meant to you and still means to you today.
Yeah, well, wow. Now we're going to start the interview off with me crying, right?
I actually felt a little teary-eyed just asking the question.
Oh, I know. I have to say there's not enough books that could be written or words spoken to express the gratitude and love that I have for my mom. See, I'll cry already. I mean, she was the greatest ambassador of happiness for sure. I think she would be very happy, hopefully, with the book. But I mean, as mothers are, it's that they're the foundation of everything. Her love, her kindness, her generosity made me who I am today. I mean, she gave me life, and not only gave me physical life, but an incredible life. I've lived a great life with her, and I live a great life because of her. And it's amazing that even in her death, she taught me the greatest lesson of life. So it's incredible how mothers are, even when they're not physically here, are still protecting and caring for us.
You said she was I think you said ambassador for happiness. Is that what you said?
I would say she's the greatest ambassador for happiness. My
Tell me
mom.
why.
Well, it's funny, I have 80 quotes in the book to reflect the 80 years that she lived. And the last one is her quote, which is, think happy thoughts. So no matter what was happening to you, you could come to her with the biggest problem, from a small child to an adult, right? And her answer always was, oh, honey, just think happy thoughts. And, sometimes it drove us crazy, my brother and sister and I, come on, this is serious. This is a big deal. But at the same time, I realized that she was, teaching me to use my mind to find happiness, because really happiness is on the inside. And so she was my law of attraction teacher before law of attraction, before I ever heard of it, or before it became mainstream. And so, yes, I would definitely say that was the greatest ambassador for happiness. And I imagine all parents, right, want us to be happy. That's the goal. They want you to be happy and healthy. But I feel like my mom especially.
How did she develop that in her own life? Was that something that she just had kind of in her DNA from the moment she entered the world? Some people are like that, right? Just super positive. Or did she intentionally develop that and cultivate it? Do you know?
I would imagine, I mean, I think it was innate. We never actually really talked about it. She was a morning person and she was a happy morning person, and I was not a morning person. So that was always a source of jokes for, for us, because she was so happy and perky in the morning. And I was like, what is the matter with you? So I believe that it's something that, she must have cultivated through her life, but she was a very positive and happy person, very social.
Wonderful. Is there a particular memory that comes to mind of your mom in this moment where something happened, right? Maybe it was a challenge in your life and she just embodied that. Like, is there a particular memory that just boom comes right to your forefront of your mind?
I mean, she was a source of support in everything. When I wanted to move to Spain and I didn't have, a job or a reason or a relationship to bring me here, she was a huge supporter of that. And she was supporting the idea, and even though it made her uncomfortable, she didn't want me to be moving across the ocean. And then we always had the joke that my dad, who was a lawyer, was asking many questions about the move, and I lied through my teeth in every answer. Do you have a job? Of course I have a job, Dad. Do you think I would move to another country without a job? One after the next, and I'm looking at my mom like, don't say anything. So she was the secret keeper as well.
Oh, wow. Well, we'll definitely dive into what brought you to Spain and what your life looks like there. But I want to understand what motivated you to write this book. You, of course, you say, in the title that she passed. There's a sudden loss. Maybe if you could tell us about that experience. It's a very attention grabbing story in the beginning of the book that you share. Maybe if you
Oh,
could
thank
share that
you.
with us, and then talk about why did you write this book?
Yeah, well, I was motivated to write it because obviously losing anyone is difficult, right? And I know it's a natural loss in the sense that we will all lose our parents at some point. But my mom died unexpectedly, and it was just the shock of that, the shock, the sadness, that emptiness, confusion feeling, and I was really overwhelmed of, now what? How will I live? And obviously, people live after losing their parents, after losing anybody. Um, but when it happens to you, you kind of can't fathom the idea of going on. And then, luckily I got my answer the night before the funeral. I had an incredible experience with my mom. I wanted to see her before the funeral. And as I looked at her in the coffin, which I know sounds morbid, but really it was just this full body understanding of that often the things we think matter don't, and all that matters are the moments, and that life is a series of moments and we get to choose how to live them. So it was an incredible, incredible lesson that gave me a lot of peace, really, right there in that moment of, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. I am going to start choosing my moments. Yeah, yeah, and I had to, I use that for grief, to be able to look for those moments of happiness. I mean, I started out looking for moments of relief, moments of comfort, and then making the choices to do things that would bring me more happiness. Because obviously, with my mom's passing being sudden and unexpected, I mean, my head started racing. What did we do in these last weeks, not knowing they were her last moments? Did she drink tea? She loves tea. Did she see a sunrise, a sunset? Did she laugh? Did she watch a good movie? And basically, what I was asking is, were her last moments meaningful? Were they beautiful? And, as professional people or just people in general are always chasing that next big milestone, whether it's a promotion or this achievement or that achievement, yet realizing now that it's those small moments that make up our lives, and that the quality of our lives comes down to the quality of our moments.
Mm.
So the intention of the book is to help redefine the word moments from a point in time into a tool that you can use to enrich your life. So I wanted to find a way to share that with people.
And so you have curated 80 quotes, as you mentioned, for the 80 years of her life. How did you go about choosing the quotes? Tell me about the writing on the opposite side of the page where the quote is kind of explained a bit more. Talk to us about the book writing process.
Well, but, I was really inspired, I have to say. I had this understanding, and I thought to myself, I want to share this, and I wasn't sure how. And then one day I was walking along the beach in Spain, not Madrid, because we don't have a beach here, but in another part in Spain. And I just heard the intro in my head. And, I ran back to the hotel and started writing it. And then, I had been collecting quotes. I love quotes because I think that they're, impactful. They're short, to the point, and impactful, thought provoking. And I wanted to have an explanation of each one so you could see how it could easily be implemented into your life. And so it's, they're very practical, let's say. So I just started, writing down different quotes and things that I had learned throughout the years. In my studies of psychology and neuroscience and meditation, spirituality, energy mastery, all of it. And I would remember lessons by putting them as quotes. So that is why I decided to do it that way. That way, the reader can read the book all the way through, or they can pick it up to any quote, just open up to any page, and that's their quote for the day.
It's almost like a oracle deck that has that's bound together,
Yes,
right?
it can be. It
It's
can
kind of
be
what it is.
exactly.
Yeah. It's like,
Exactly.
let me open it up to see what the universe needs me to understand today or what I can
Yes, well,
embrace.
I have some friends who have been using it in that way, and they've been telling me it's incredible. It answers the question each time. So that's great.
Yeah, yeah. So I would love to hear about some of your favorite quotes in the book. What are some that come to your mind?
I always joke when people ask me that because I say it's like picking your favorite child, right? But there are so many. I would say my probably all-time favorite is "You are the artist and you are the masterpiece." Because I do believe that we have the ability to design and create our lives, as I have with mine. And so I love that quote because it reminds you that you are the artist and you are the final masterpiece. I also like leverage what you've learned, because that is also what I'm doing with the book, is leveraging the lessons that I've learned throughout my life, not only, through education, but through experiences and different people. So I always think that is a good one. One I'm using, and I used in grief, is "Where you are is a temporary place." To realize that when you're in the throes of grief or any pain, that it is temporary, and really everything in life is temporary. We're always moving, from transitioning from one moment to the next. We are the story we tell. I think that one is quite important as well, in terms of, how you talk about yourself, how you think, how you act, your behaviors, but especially how you talk about you and your life is extremely impactful. It will have a huge impact on how your life plays out.
Hmm. Well, I want to hear a bit more about your backstory of how your life has played out. Talk to us about where you grew up. Was even spirituality or consciousness a part of that upbringing? I know you talked about your mom was your law of attraction coach before you even knew about law of attraction, but I'd love to hear a bit about your upbringing and what kind of helped you make your way to Spain, where you live now.
Well, I grew up in New Jersey, and I had a fantastic childhood. I'm grateful, very grateful for that. Spirituality, religion, all of that was not really part of our everyday life. My dad was a lawyer, so you can imagine that we were being cross-examined, not not taught about any spiritual laws of success or anything like that.
What are
So
feelings? Feelings, those do not matter.
yeah,
The
what is that?
facts,
What
the
is
facts
that
are what matters.
exactly? So, but yes, I grew up in New Jersey, and then I went to university in Washington, D.C. And I came to Spain when I was in college. I did the study abroad, as many people do, and I loved it. But then I came back to the U.S., and obviously finished out college and started working in New York, and then later got into figure skating. Not as a figure skater myself. You didn't see me at the Olympics, but I worked in the business of figure skating. So I always joke that I was the Jerry Maguire. I don't know if you knew that movie with Tom
Yeah,
Cruise,
yeah.
the "Show Me the Money." I was the Jerry Maguire of figure skating. So I worked with Olympic figure skaters for many years, which brought me everywhere, not just to Spain, but throughout Europe and Japan. And then later in life, I just wanted to make a career change, and I decided to move to Spain because I really loved it here. Figure skating had brought me back here. We started doing a tour throughout Europe and Japan, and we set it up here in Spain, in Madrid. So it brought me back, many years after the university, and I loved it. And I thought, oh, wouldn't it be great to live here? And now my joke always like, oh, if I only had the job of my life, I would move to Spain. Oh, if I only had the man of my life, I would move to Spain. I don't have either, so I think I'll just move to Spain.
Amazing. And how long have you been there now?
14 years, long
Wow.
time.
I assume I would assume from the outside that it just feels like home now. Is that
Oh, it
true?
does. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember that day too. Like one day I'm walking down the street and I realized, wow, I'm home. This feels like home to me. So yes, it does feel like, obviously, my mom used to say home is where the heart is and where your mom is, right? So home for me will always be New Jersey, but it's my second home, let's say that.
Do you see yourself living in Spain for the rest of your life?
It's so funny when people ask me that question, because I never look past 5 minutes. Forget about the rest of my rest of my life. Right? I'm living in the moment. But yes, to answer your question, yes. I mean, I really enjoy my life here, and as I try to hold the vision of my life, yes, I see myself here.
Yeah, yeah. What are the things that you like about Spain that really have captured your heart and make you want to stay there?
It's funny. When I got off the plane here when I was in college, there was a smell that and I thought, like, I got goosebumps. I was like, I've been here before. And so it was a strange sensation of, and I had never been there before. I was 19 or 20 years old at that time. So, so that was quite, that was something. And I love the culture, learning, and I love the language, although sometimes, after 14 years, I still struggle and I get frustrated. But the culture, the way of life here, people are very friendly. It is easy. I feel that it's easy as a foreigner to live here, to meet people, to integrate into the society. It's a very social way of living. Values are great. So it's hard to describe because I feel like I would be insulting the U.S., which I'm
Right.
not, right? Which I'm not, to say, oh, it's so much better here. But the food is incredible. You can't get a bad meal anywhere you go. And just in general, the culture is fantastic. I've had great experiences here.
So what I hear you saying is that the US is difficult to meet people, not friendly, bad food.
Exactly. That I know, and that's what it sounds like when I say that, and I certainly don't mean that at
Sure,
all.
sure.
But it's another outlook
Sure.
on life. I feel that people here and we don't even necessarily use the word spiritual, but I would say that they are much more spiritual, grounded. History is extremely important to
Right.
them.
Yeah.
The deeper meaning is kind of present in everything. There's joy in the small moments in
Mm.
life, and people really pay attention to that.
Mhm.
So I'm not saying that doesn't happen in other countries. I'm sure it does,
Sure, sure.
but it's really embedded in the culture here.
Yeah. Talk to me about your own awakening to however you would describe it, consciousness, mindfulness, spirituality. At what point in your life did that kind of come into being? I don't know if it's through a teacher or experience or
I think I was young. I do remember having a dream when I was very young. So I'm going to say 8 or 9 years old.
Mhm.
And I remember having a dream where all of us my whole family was lined up like one after the other in beds, including my grandparents, my aunt and uncle, and everybody was asleep and I was awake. And speaking of Awakened magazine, and there was I just thought of that now.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was an angel flying above and she was winking at me.
Wow.
And imagine, I remember the dream, and obviously as a kid I woke up and went on with my life. So I don't know if there was a particular moment in time, but I always was interested in psychology and the deeper meaning and learning about things, not so much in religion.
Mhm.
My best friend and I used to cut CCD classes and go to the pizza place. So I can't say that it was from our religious upbringing. But then I learned about Abraham Hicks and different authors that that were starting to write about spirituality. And when I came to Spain to live is when I really started on that journey even more. There was a book called The Artist's Way. I don't even remember the author's name. And there's a practice about doing morning pages. So I started doing that even before I moved here. So I guess those were just, the little steps into it. And I realized later I learned that I had been doing things that you would call law of attraction or manifesting without knowing that that was what I was doing. For example, getting into figure skating, I used to imagine myself doing that job. And then it happened, right? So, and so I think I opened up the space for that to come in.
What was it about figure skating that attracted you?
It started in 1994 with the whole Tanya Nancy. I don't know if you would remember that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
That's
see your
like
face. The answer
with
is
the
yes, right?
went after the knee. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So just like everyone else, I was fascinated by that story and I followed it on the news, which got me to start watching figure skating. And I really just loved it. I mean, the artistry of it, the music, the dance, it was really beautiful. Obviously, the sports aspect. Um, so I was captivated as many others were, and I literally became a figure skating fan. I started watching all the different shows that were on TV, and I would go to competitions and to champions on ice and all of that. And that is when I, really loved it and wanted to become even more a part of it. And I used to think when I was working in New York and my commute into the city, I used to think of ideas of different advertising ideas for figure skaters or, and imagining these different scenarios. And then years later, I was the person making those deals happen.
Amazing. Take us I love hearing about industries that I have nothing to do with. I have no idea about. So take us behind the scenes at how does that even work? Like in terms of your role and what are some things that you maybe have lessons that you've learned that you've taken forward in
It's
life
the
in the process?
everything role. It's definitely the everything role. So, I mean, I joke about the Jerry Maguire movie, which did show it very, very well. If you saw
Yeah.
that, he gets very involved in the life of his athlete.
You're
So,
basically you're an agent. Is that what you're
yeah.
describing?
So when you're an agent, you're doing public relations, you're doing press and media. In figure skating, I was involved in, obviously they had the coach, so I had nothing to do with their performance on ice. That is for sure. But you get involved with the costumes, with the music, and then, what can happen from there? What will they do after the fact? So the shows that they might participate in, different brands that they could represent, events that they could speak at and share their story or their lessons or what it's like to be a competitive athlete or what it's like to be in the Olympics. So, I mean, there's so many different facets that it can take on. And it is extremely interesting.
How many skaters could you be the agent for at the same time?
I mean, I had more than 10 at a time, but it depends. They were
Wow.
all at different levels. So it could be anything from, Olympic champions, but we were always, we were working with champions on ice. So we had, several Olympic champions, former champions, and then upcoming world champions, European champions, national champions, and then people, trying to in the top 10, let's say in the world. So it would really depend. Obviously, some required more energy than others. But based on their career and what and what they were doing. And I have to say also in figure skating, yeah, there was a lot of visualization there as well and a lot of focus, as you can imagine. I mean, it's very interesting, what how athletes really how they focus and how they visualize themselves, winning or achieving. And again, there we are with the law of attraction and action again.
That's what I was just going to ask you about was what did you learn from those individuals? Because that's at the very tip top of any professional, sport, and the mindset, the amount of work that it must entail to be at that level. I can't even
It
imagine.
is mindset. It is mindset. I mean, these people are extremely dedicated because their entire lives are dedicated to that.
Hmm.
From the time they wake up in the morning till the time they go to sleep at night, right? I mean, their diet, their sleep, their exercise, their training, all of that. So it's it's interesting to see the dedication, the discipline, and the focus that they have, and the passion. And
Hmm.
I mean, you really have to be passionate to be able to dedicate yourself like that.
Hmm.
And another thing I always say is that they work the fundamentals just like we can in life. The fundamentals of whatever their sport may be. I mean, this can be for tennis, for figure skating, for football, but those that basic training that they all do, that they practice every single day, just like us, we can involve ourselves in or engage ourselves in that type of basic training with obviously taking care of ourselves with sleep. But I'm talking more about meditation, focus, choosing your moments. So there, we all can take a page out of their book. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I want to pivot back to this topic of choosing your moments, specifically helping me think through that on a daily basis. So, I'm a very focused individual. I'm type A. I work a lot. I love what I do. Um, and so, like you said, as professional individuals, it can be okay. What's the next goal? What's the next rung of the ladder? What's the next vision? How can I choose my moments on a daily basis? Like, give me some practical steps or insights of what I can do.
Exactly. Well, of course, I would say you should pick up the book, or you could pick up the book and flip to any page. But what I tell people also is to ask yourself throughout the day, because we have heard that message many times. Be present, seize the moment, seize
Be
the
in the moment.
day. Exactly, the power of now, and hopefully, moments will resonate with people because you can ask yourself, do I want to be spent? Do I want to spend my moments doing whatever it is you're doing? Do I want to spend my moments having this conversation, thinking about this problem, in this job, in this relationship? And if the answer is no, obviously it's time to make another choice. But even simple things like that, before, like I ask myself sometimes before I'm about to dive into some chocolate, do I really want to spend my moments eating this chocolate? I mean, the answer is yes. But do I want to spend my moments working it off? Maybe not. But from a practical aspect, to really stop yourself and ask that question, and not to emphasize the scarcity of time, but really the immensity of time and resources that we have. Because I say in the book that life is a series of moments, and we get to choose how to live them. So I'm emphasizing the choice part here, that you can choose your moments at any time. And, especially in my case, I really needed to do it for grief, but it can be for anything, in any situation, in your practical use throughout the day, or in when something serious happens. I
Mhm.
had a this past Christmas. Everything happens at Christmas time. This past Christmas, my dad went into the hospital, and unfortunately he died several weeks later. And when I realized that he wasn't going to recover, obviously I panicked. And oh my God, I'm going to lose another parent, and I can't believe this. And what if and all of that started all over again. And I had to stop myself and say, you wrote a book that says life is a series of moments, and we get to choose how to live them. So I really stopped myself. There's a quote in the book that says the difference between reacting and responding is just a few seconds. And so I really needed to stop. And I said to myself, don't waste your moments now panicking about future moments, because they're going to come. So I, was able to choose how I was going to spend those last moments with my dad. And, I was able to make them beautiful for him and for me. So you end up with a beautiful memory, instead of that panic and all of that comes later, of course. But even in the bad times, the bad times as well as the everyday life, we still can stop and choose our moments.
Mhm. So I'm hearing the power of a pause. So I'm hearing pausing. is a big process, a big point in this process, and then redirecting our mindset, redirecting what we're focusing on, and
Exactly.
even choosing how we spend our time. I assume those are three big lessons that I'm hearing coming out of this.
Well, I mean, time. I have heard that time is one of the most used words in the English language, and probably in every language. People always talking about that they don't have enough, or I don't have time, or
Mhm.
is there time for this? And what I'm trying to emphasize here is that you're already in life. Life is a series of moments. So, and you get to choose how to spend them, how to live them.
Mhm.
And yes, we are going to have ups and downs. That doesn't mean that everything is going to be perfect,
Mhm.
but you can use the book as a guide on how to manage these types of the tough times as well as the good times.
Mhm.
You asked me earlier about my career, and I have a quote in the book that says, "Your vision will take you even further than your sight." And it's something to. I've always had a vision for what I've wanted my life to look like. Obviously it changes, it changes as I change. Where you are is a temporary place. So your vision can be too, but to hold a vision and to take the steps towards that vision. And I think that it's the same with moments. How do I want to spend my life moments? And again, not to emphasize the scarcity of time, but actually the immensity of time and resources that we have to live a very enriched life.
Mhm. I was just going to bring up that point where you differentiated between scarcity of time and immensity of time, because I definitely focus on the scarcity of time. And even up until I would say a couple months ago, I did not enjoy birthdays. I enjoyed my last birthday.
Oh,
I got to a place where I was like, I'm good, I'm good. But all previous birthdays, I felt like I wasn't where I wanted to be, like farther enough ahead, right? And I felt like I was running out of time. I plan to live to 100, so I've actually got 48 years left. So I got half my life in front of me. But this I want to hear more about that differentiation between scarcity of time and the immensity of time. Help me understand that more. Help me embrace that.
well, because I think that sometimes we look at time in, like you said, in the negative, that we don't have enough of it,
Mhm.
not realizing that every moment is our time. And for now, I'm looking at time as immense. I mean, I'm on this earth now without my parents, but I am living. So what am I going to do? Not with my time left, but with my time here.
Yeah.
And think of when we were younger and, you would go to a party or to the beach for the day or whatever. The days felt long and great. And do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we never were looking at this scarcity. I only have 1 hour. I have to go.
Right.
So, yeah, to emphasize that, our moments are precious. And if you do live them well, they will feel immense. You won't
Mhm.
feel this scarcity of I didn't have enough time. And it sounds bad to say this. If I were to die tomorrow, which I hope I don't, knock on wood, um, that, I feel that I've lived a good life and I'm still young because I made my moments immense.
Mhm.
I've done a lot. I've had a lot of incredible experiences, and I haven't let that scarcity of time scare me that, oh,
Mhm.
there's not enough time for this, or I'm too old for this, or I'm too young for that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I just put
Mhm.
all, whatever the rules were with time, I put them aside and didn't pay attention to them.
Yeah, yeah. So you are a keynote speaker as well, who is taking this message of choosing your moments into corporate setting, into the business environment, into nonprofits, and sharing this message. How do individuals who are pretty driven, right? How do you help them integrate? Because they're probably not going to get rid of that drivenness. Like they're going to keep going after those big goals. How do you help them integrate this concept of choosing your moments into their current life?
Well, that's the interesting thing, that you don't have to let go of that. Choosing your moments, being present doesn't mean that you actually have to slow down per se, or not achieve, or not to do the things that you like. It's
Mm.
really just a way to make you more mindful. And for those people who are high achievers, research has shown us that companies and corporations with higher well-being cultures have better results. And so I go to them and explain to them about, about that, and what is the business case for well-being, and how, choosing your moments is basically the answer. But we have found, I mean, the research has found that companies with well-being, the employees, they're 41% less likely to have a sick day, 39% less likely to be diagnosed with a disease, and 43 less likely to have depression.
Wow.
So, and there's something called the 3 degrees of influence, which means you're influenced the most by the 3 people you spend the most time with. So if you're working 40, 50, 60, or whatever hours per week, guess who you're spending the most time with? So there is that, you want you want to choose your moments, but you want your colleagues to be choosing their moments as well. In psychology, it's called limbic resonance, where we're affected by the energy and the attitude of other people.
Mhm.
So it is important for corporations where we do have large groups of people that are, interacting every day, to understand the power of that. And luckily now, the conversation of emotional and mental wellness is very common in companies. Thank God, it's become part of the corporate conversation.
Mhm. So obviously, your message is very powerful about wellness and mindfulness. What makes you unique as a speaker when you go into those environments?
Well, I don't know if I would say that I'm unique per
You
se, but
are, of course. Everybody's unique.
I guess we're all unique. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that the message is unique, that it's a different take on staying present. And especially from where the message came, from the experience that I had, and the reframe. Also, we don't talk very much about grief in the workplace, and that has gotten the attention of a lot of people, because there's many types of grief. Obviously, there's losing people, but there can be relationship separations, divorce, and things like that. So I think the message is resonating with people, realizing, I mean, in the end of the day, companies and corporations are made up of people, and at some point we will all suffer a loss, whether it's an actual physical death or a loss of something. So even loss of pets, I mean, and we're not talking about how to handle that within the workplace. So I think this book and this conversation of wellness opens that up, opens the dialogue on how to do that. And I found it for myself. I work for a company called Leaders League, and we do business events. Well, actually, I was going to say here in Europe, but it's Europe, US, and Latin America. And I have an event that I do every year in Madrid. And my event was coming a few months after my mom died, and after my dad died. And so I really had to, I mean, I'm in the middle of grief, and I had to put together an event for 350 people. And I used the concept of moments to help me, in the sense of, I'm going to create moments for people. I'm going to create moments of learning, moments of knowledge sharing, moments of networking, moments of hopefully new business, moments of celebration because we have an award ceremony, moments of great food because there was a dinner. So I just tried to use that as a way to help myself, to motivate myself a bit, to get back into work, because that can happen, that people have a loss, and you have deadlines, and you have work to do, and events coming up, and whatever it may be. So it helped me to reframe what I was doing in the business world, and to be able to make it matter to me, to be able to produce it, and hopefully it mattered to the people who attended.
I love this spin because I know as a leader, I've been a leader for my whole life in different, contexts, spiritual business, creating movies and films. And I've never thought about it, but I am very passionate about curating moments for other people. Like even when I've made 4 films, you're curating an hour to
Oh,
two
wow.
hour
Yeah.
moment, right? For people to have an experience, to step out of time. It's almost like stepping out of the hamster wheel of the mind and stepping into a powerful moment. I love how you how
Well, and
you
that happens a lot in corporations too, because people don't realize that everyone there makes up those moments. There's a law firm, A&O Sherman. They have an office here in Spain, and from the moment you walk into that office, you feel great. Because the people at the reception desk are so kind and they're so welcoming, and many offices. But I had experiences there many times that as soon as you walk in, they're changing the moment for you, and
Wow.
that can be. That can be in any company or hotels, stores, whatever it may be. But we all have a part, and the person at the reception desk is your first entry when you're walking into an office, and they are the prime moment maker from the moment you walk in. So already you're feeling good and relaxed and happy and taken care of, and then moving on to whatever your business is. And sometimes we don't even pay attention in corporations to that all these little things make a difference. So not only are they making moments for those people who walk in the office, but all of us are
Right.
throughout the day, making moments for our colleagues, for ourselves, for our clients. And like you said, in your product, yeah, you're curating incredible moments for people.
Okay, so your book, to remind people, it's called Choose Your Moments: How the Sudden Loss of My Mother Taught Me How to Live. We'll link to the book on Amazon. They can definitely get it there. And your website, if people want to be coached by you, I know that you do some coaching and you also speak. You're speaking in person in Spain, but also in other locations and
Yes,
online as well.
In Spain, in the US, and Belgium and Switzerland so far. So yes, I will travel.
Anywhere they'll pay you to go, you'll be there.
I will be happy to be there. And one thing to say about the book, as you can see behind me, and I have it here, it's Choose Your Moments, and it's capital MOM for mom. So people will see that when it's written. How the sudden loss of my mother taught me how to live, and inspiration for everyday life.
Wonderful. All right, so your website and social media, tell us that.
My website is chooseyourmoments.net. And you can find me on Instagram, which is also choose.your.moments.book. It's easier to read if you put the dot in there, but it's Choose Your Moments Book. And on LinkedIn and Facebook, it's my name, Elizabeth DeSevo.
And we'll link to all of those, of course, in the show notes. If you're listening now, you can swipe up on your phone and find all those links. Elizabeth, oh, you are making a huge difference in the world. You're effervescent. Oh my goodness, effervescent. There we go.
Thank you.
Can't even get the word out. Presence is just so beautiful. And thank you for sharing this book with the world and your heart. It's just wonderful. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you. You know what I would love to do with you at the end, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
is I'm going to pull a quote for you as we were
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about
Let's
the
do it. Let's do it.
magic, right? So I will do this. I will flip it like this, if you can see, and you just tell me when to stop, and that will be your quote. Let's see what comes up.
Okay. And stop.
Oh, this is a good one. We want to do things that matter and often measure ourselves against things that don't. And then the
Oh.
explanation
Mhm.
is there is no prize at the end of your life for possessions or job titles. All you have are the beautiful moments you've created and shared with others.
Mm, that is so perfect for me. Thank you. Thank you. What a great oracle card reading for me today. I received that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, great to be with you today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the Awaken Magazine podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and our other conversations, would you mind taking a moment to leave a 5-star review and maybe even a comment on Spotify or Apple Podcasts? That's one of the ways that you can give back to the show and help us reach more people. And of course, feel free to share the episode with a friend. And if you're not already on our email list, we send out an inspiring email every Monday morning full of articles and interviews. Just head on over to awakenedmagazine.com and click subscribe and join for free. Our hope is that all the resources we share will help our world continue awakening to love.